Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. Let's get started and look into our daily quiz. Before we start with our today's practice questions, a quick gentle reminder. As part of our weekly current affairs session, today's topic would be Shinzo Abe and India-Japan relations. Please do tune in live on our YouTube channel today at 8 p.m. and you will understand everything about this topic. Let's get started and look into the first question. With respect to Simla Agreement, which of the following statements are correct? It was an agreement between Indira Gandhi and Zia ul Haq. It was signed in the year 1972. The agreement was signed in Ellerslie House at Shimla in Himachal Pradesh. Which of the statements are correct? The answer to this is 2 only. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Hindu makes a reference to the Simla Agreement. Let us try and understand what are these options. When we look into the first option, it was an agreement between Indira Gandhi and Zia ul Haq. This is a wrong statement. Why? That is because this agreement was signed between Indira Gandhi ji and Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. It is not Zia ul Haq, but instead it is Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. The second statement is right because it was signed in the year 1972 on 2nd of July. So the second statement is right. The first statement is wrong. When we look into the third statement, the agreement was signed in Ellerslie House at Shimla in Himachal Pradesh. This also will be a wrong statement because it wasn't signed at Ellerslie House, but instead it was signed in Banskot Raj Bhavan at Shimla in Himachal Pradesh, which is why the first and the third statements are wrong. The second statement is right, and the answer to this would be 2 only. Now, if you look into the Shimla Agreement, what is it? This is also called as the Shimla Accord or the Shimla Treaty, which was signed between the premiers of India and Pakistan, and it was a treaty that laid out the principles which would govern the future bilateral relationship between the two countries. It was signed 8 months after the India-Pakistan war that led to the splitting of Pakistan and consequent creation of Bangladesh, and the accord had contained the steps that were to be taken in order to ensure the normalization of relationship between India and Pakistan. And this article here also makes a reference to what is called as the Murray emissary level talks. Do remember, these Murray emissary level talks also happens to be talks between India and Pakistan. This can also be very important from the preliminary examination point of view. What were the terms of the Shimla Agreement? The Charter of the UN shall govern relations between India and Pakistan. Any differences shall be settled by peaceful means through the bilateral negotiations. Both countries shall respect the territorial integrity of each other and not interfere in the internal matters of each other. Forces will be withdrawn to each other's side of the international border, and the ceasefire line of December 17th, 1971 shall be respected and reiterated as the line of control. India also released 93,000 Pakistani prisoners of war who were captured after the Bangladesh war. These are some of the important facts with respect to the Simla Agreement, and you have to remember these facts. Now let's look into the next practice question. I2U2, recently seen in news, is associated with North Atlantic Treaty Organization, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, West Asian Quad. The answer to this is West Asian Quad. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Hindu makes a reference to I2U2. What does it mean? It stands for India, Israel, United Arab Emirates as well as the United States of America. So this is also being referred as the West Asian Quad. This was called as the West Asian Quad by Ahmad Al-Banna, who happens to be ambassador of the UAE to India. What is the aim of this platform? Basically, they will discuss all the common areas of mutual interest. This is also about strengthening the economic partnership. This is about trade between all these countries, and it is also about all those agreements which are mutually beneficial for all these countries who are part of I2U2. So I2U2 basically means that all these 4 countries have come together, they discuss about mutual cooperation agreement, so on and so forth. So with the help of the private sector capital as well as their expertise, these countries are looking to modernize infrastructure, explore low carbon avenues for industries, improve public health, and promote the development of critical emerging and green technologies. If you go back to the year 2020, we had what is called as the Abraham Accords, which acted as the foundation for the ITU2. So basically all these four countries have come together and they want to cooperate on multiple areas, want to enlarge on the investments in terms of the water, energy, transportation, space, health and food security, so that they would be able to benefit mutually. It is this that we have to understand with respect to I to U2. Now let's look into the next practice question. Which of the following statements with respect to fundamental duties are correct? The FT extends to all individuals residing in India. They are enforceable by law. Which of the statements are correct? The answer to this is 2 only. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Hindu makes a reference to the fundamental duties. Let us try and understand what are these options. When we look into the first option says the FT extends to individuals residing in India. This is a wrong statement. Why? That is because it is only applicable to citizens. When you say individuals residing in India, it can also be foreigners as well. They need not have to follow the fundamental duties, but when it comes to the citizens, they have to follow these fundamental duties, respect these fundamental duties, and it is applicable to the citizens. So it is not to all individuals residing in India, but it is to the citizens who are in India. So there is a thin line of difference between citizens and individuals residing, as individuals residing also includes foreigners who are also residing in India as well. So this is a wrong statement, and the second statement is right, where they are enforceable by law. This basically means if the parliament so decides, it can provide for the imposition of all these fundamental duties. They may also impose penalty as well. They may also impose punishment for the failure in case the citizens do not actually meet up to these intended fundamental duties. Yes, they are enforceable by law if the parliament so decides. And do note, we already have a video that was recorded by Sarmat sir as part of the knowledge series with respect to the fundamental duties. So please do watch the video in case you do not know what this topic is all about. Now let's look into the next practice question. Consider the following statements. The design of the Indian tricolor is largely attributed to Pingali Venkaiah. The ratio of the width to the length of the flag is 3:2. The right to fly the national flag by an Indian citizen is a fundamental right. Which of the statements given above are correct? The answer to this is 1 and 3 only. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Indian Express makes a reference to the flag code of India. Let us try and understand what are these options. When we look into the first option, it says the design of the Indian tricolor is largely attributed to Pingali Venkaiah. This happens to be a right statement. When we look into the second statement, the ratio of the width to the length of the flag is 3:2. This is a wrong statement. Why? That is because the ratio of the length to the width has to be 3:2. If it is width to the length, it is 2:3 and not 3:2. So the second statement is wrong. When you look into the third statement, right to fly the national flag by Indian citizen is a fundamental right. This statement is also right. Third statement says right to fly the national flag by Indian citizen is a fundamental right. This statement is also right. Let's go back to the landmark judgment delivered by the Supreme Court of India in Union of India versus Navin Jindal and another. In this particular judgment, the Supreme Court went on to say that right to fly the national flag by the Indian citizen is a fundamental right under Article 19. So a major ruling that came from the Supreme Court declared that hoisting the Tiranga flag is a fundamental right that the government cannot legislate away. So this was the judgment given by the Supreme Court, and as a result, the third statement is also right. What is this article all about? This article here is speaking about amendments introduced by the Government of India with respect to the flag code. When we look into the flag code of India 2002, it allowed only handwoven and handspun khadi to be used for making the national flag. But now the government has introduced amendments which has also allowed polyester as well. This is the major change introduced by the Government of India in the Flag Code of 2002. Now, if you look into the Flag Code, it is divided into several parts, which gives a basic description of the tricolor, applicable rules about the display of the flag, applicable rules about the display of the flag by the government and its departments. What are the major features? The tricolor is not meant for commercial uses. The tricolor should be placed distinctively to occupy a place of honor. The Indian flag must always be hoisted swiftly while it should be lowered ceremonially. The Indian flag should not be used for any festivities as an item of decoration. The Indian flag, if damaged, should be disposed of in a manner appropriate with the dignity of the flag for any official purpose. Only those flags consistent with the specifications laid by the Bureau of Indian Standards bearing their special mark can be brought into use. These are some of the important facts with respect to the Flag Code of 2002. Now let's look into the next practice question. Consider the following statements. In India, credit rating agencies are regulated by Reserve Bank of India. The rating agency, popularly known as ICRA, is a public limited company. Brickwork Ratings is an Indian credit rating agency. Which of the statements given are correct? The answer to this is 2 and 3 only. This happens to be a previous year question from the year 2022. When you look into the first statement is incorrect. That is because the credit rating agencies are regulated by SEBI and not by the Reserve Bank of India. Since the first statement is wrong, the other two statements are right. The answer to this would be 2 and 3 only. Now let's look into the fact of the day. The fact of the day for today's discussion is unparliamentary words. What is the context? There was a 50-page compilation of words which were deemed unfit for use in the parliament was released by the Lok Sabha Secretariat. So this article here is speaking about a compilation released by the Lok Sabha Secretariat which clearly goes on to point that some words cannot be used in the parliament by the members of the parliament. So such words is what is called as the unparliamentary word or the unparliamentary language. When we speak about the parliament, what exactly happens? We have the lot of debate and discussions, which is the very essence of the parliamentary democracy. So the member of parliament and the member of the legislative assembly at the state level have the right to put out their opinion. They have the right to question the executive as well. They have the right to deliberate as well. They can also ask questions and throw their voice against a particular policy as well. But these wordings, whenever they utter, have to be in line with the parliamentary privilege. So what exactly happens? There are rules that are laid so that whatever the parliamentarians speak is in line with the decorum of the parliament. They cannot use offensive or the aggressive words. Such words which cannot be used is what is called as unparliamentary language. So the words and statements that are contrary to the rules and regulations that are placed by the parliament and the state legislature that are deemed inappropriate is what is called as unparliamentary words or the unparliamentary language. So basically, when it comes to the parliament, the presiding officers, that is the speaker of the Lok Sabha and chairperson of the Rajya Sabha, have the job of keeping these words out of the parliament's record so that the parliamentarians do not utter these words. Similar words can also be introduced at the state level as well, where these members of the state legislative assembly should not be able to use those words. This depends on how the state comes up with its own regulations. When we look into the constitution, what does the constitution say? The constitution under article 105 of the constitution lays down that no member of the parliament shall be liable to any proceedings in any court in respect of anything said or any oath given by him in parliament or any committees. So in case there is a parliamentarian, he does not follow the rules laid down in the parliament, in that case the presiding officer would also be able to take suitable actions as well. MP is subject to the discipline of the rules of the parliament. Rule 380 of the rules of the procedure and conduct of business in Lok Sabha says if the speaker is of the opinion that words that have been used in debate which are defamatory or indecent or unparliamentary or undignified, the speaker may, while exercising discretion, order that such words be expunged from the proceedings of the house. Rule 381 says the portion of the proceedings of the house so expunged shall be marked by asterisk and an explanatory footnote shall be inserted in the proceedings as follows: expunged as ordered by the chair. So the Lok Sabha Secretariat has brought out a bulky tome titled unparliamentary expressions. The last such book was published in 2009, and in the present situation, they have released new words which the parliamentarians should not be using whenever they are speaking in the parliament. According to the latest list, words like Jumla Jivi, Bal Buddhi, COVID spreader, abused, ashamed, betrayal, chamchagiri, cheated, snoopgate, anarchist, shakuni, corrupt, corruption, covert, criminal, dictatorial, tanshahi, Vinash Purush, Khalistani, among others, would be expunged if used during debates or otherwise in both the houses. Other such words include dodgy, drama, false, eyewash, fabrication, fraud, gaslighting, hack, hooliganism, hypocrisy, incompetent, lie, lollipops, mislead, negligence, partition, racist, poster boy, scandal, ruthless, traitor, which so on and so forth. So such words should not be used by the parliamentarians is the new list released by the Lok Sabha. Why these rules are very important? That is required so as to maintain decency and dignity of the house. It helps in maintaining and addressing real issues instead of always focusing on the unparliamentary words, because these unparliamentary words in itself can become the debate of the house. So in order to avoid and in order to make sure the time given to the parliamentarians is used for the right issues, these words can be regulated. It is this that we have to understand with respect to this topic. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.